What is up, everybody? Mr. Purse here. Welcome to 5.2. This is still in the unit of, or the subtopic, I guess, or subunit of revolutions, but this is kind of its own, like, separate entity or thing, but it does connect, which is called nationalism. And essentially what happens is, as a result of these revolutions that we've been talking about, this new idea or concept emerges called nationalism. And essentially, as we are building new countries and separating from mother countries, this new concept of what makes someone this one thing, for example, an American or someone from the United States of America and an American, versus what makes them British, emerges. And this concept of nationalism really comes up in the early 1800s, and we see it's really going to move and push us throughout the rest of this course. So let's get into this. Here's the deal with nationalism. By the way, 1750 to 1900, as if you didn't know already. Here's the deal with nationalism. Nationalism is essentially loyalty or devotion to a nation. And that's that word national or nationalism in there. It can be a real nation. For example, the United States of America is a real country, and having loyalty or devotion to the United States of America, if you're an American citizen, is a real thing, and it's a real country. It can also be an imagined country, and by imagined, I mean a country that doesn't yet exist. You could want to split away from the country you're in and form your own nation because you might be in a multi-ethnic or multinational empire. So you might say, hey, we're not Turkish, but we're living in the Ottoman Empire, and we are Armenian Christians, and we want our own country. That's an imagined country. It doesn't exist yet, but that's still nationalism because you have this desire for your own country. And the other part of nationalism is how people and the country define the identification of the people in that country. So the question becomes, what are these bonds that bring people together that form this nationalism? So what makes an Italian an Italian? What makes an American an American? What makes a Guatemalan a Guatemalan? And what are the religion? What are the customs? What are the territory? What makes that person identify with that country outside of, I live here and the government rules over me? It's like, what's that bond that people feel with one another within that thing, within that country? This can be a good thing. Pride in one's country is good, and we'll get more into the good and bad in a second. But just to point this out now, there is a good side of this. Pride in one's country is not a negative thing. It is generally seen as a very positive thing to be prideful in the country that you are from. It can be a bad thing in that it can exclude people. It can say, you aren't our religion, you aren't our customs, you weren't born in this territory, therefore you are not us. You are something different, and therefore we don't consider you part of our country or nationalism. It can also lead to tension between countries, which should be obvious, where one country says we're better than you, and it leads to fights. Here's the deal with this, and I mentioned this before, but I just want to say it again. The concept of nationalism, of the idea of being part of a nation, really didn't exist before the 1800s. It's not, if you went back in time in a time machine to the 1600s, you probably wouldn't identify yourself, no matter where you're from, as from a certain country and from a certain nation. You would identify yourself from the locality, from the local region that you're from. So, for example, you might say, I'm from Long Island, or I'm from this part of Long Island, as opposed to, or maybe even back in the day, in the colonial period, I'm a New Yorker, as opposed to, I am from the British colonies, or I'm a future American. So that's kind of the difference, where these concepts really didn't exist prior to this. So some good stuff and some bad stuff. So on this side, we got the good side of things. So nationalism, like I said, it can be really like a force to unite people together. It can unify people within a country. If you talk to anyone who was alive during the September 11th attacks, they will tell you that on September 12th and the months thereafter, there was a lot of unification in this country between racial, religious, people with different political beliefs, that people unified together, and people would go around and put American flags all over their cars and on their homes, and they're all over this idea of, like, we're all one country and we're one people, and you kind of put aside those political differences and realize what's for the best of the country. Also, nationalism can be good because people gain independence. This movement of should be our own nation can help people achieve independence and achieve their own country and achieve their own nation, which is good. And a good side, one good side can be competition between countries to compete with each other and to try and better your own country. Competition can bring out the best in countries. However, the other side of this, so I just want to come over here. So we have competition between countries, but on the other side, extreme nationalism can lead to war. So if our competition gets too intense and we need to prove that we're better than the other side, we might need to fight. And that war often is considered kind of it is a negative side in which you're sending off people to fight to prove that you're better. And we're going to see this in the early 1900s especially. Also, the bad side of this is it can exclude certain members. Like I said, certain people who are not actually part or considered to be part of the traditional customs or beliefs of your country might be considered outsiders and might not be considered part of this idea of nationalism. Also, we do have countries that are breaking apart. So it's good that people are gaining independence, but if you're the mother country or if you're the large empire that controls all these different people and you're losing parts of your territory to this nationalist movement where people demand and get their independence, that's not necessarily a good thing for you either. So some things are good, some things are bad. Just a couple examples here. I want to show you this first one. So just take a look at this map. This is the map of Western Europe, or at least parts of Western Europe in 1800. You will notice we have essentially Great Britain along with Ireland here, all kind of one big piece. This is Great Britain. And we have France down here, and you'll notice that these two are very unified. They're in solid colors, there's no difference, but this is what becomes modern day Germany. As you look at this map, you will notice that Germany's really broken up into a lot of what are called city-states. There is no nationalism in Germany in the 1800s. There's no country called Germany. It is essentially just a lot of little city-states. And if France, for example, which they do in the early 1800s, decides to invade Germany here, they are not taking on one unified collective group of people who all are united behind the same banner or flag. They really just need to beat a lot of little city-states. And if one unified country just needs to beat a lot of little city-states, it's not going to be as difficult as fighting a one unified country. So in the early 1800s, when France invades these city-states and takes them over, these people in this region by the mid-1800s say, hey man, we got to do something about this. We need to unite us. And essentially they say, we all have a similar language. We all speak German. We have a similar culture and customs, and maybe we should unite and come together. And this is what Germany is going to look like. So I want to come back and forth here real quick. 1800, 1900. 1800, 1900. And you'll notice there's some differences here. We have a new country called Belgium emerge here in northern France, as well as the Netherlands becomes unified. And then we have this whole area becomes part of Germany. So this stays the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which is modern day Germany today. But the rest of this becomes the country of Germany. So this is going to be better for them because it is going to allow them to unify together and to help fight off future attacks. This is the second one. We got Italy down here. Italy is broken up again into a lot of city-states. You have the Naples section, and if you ever go to Italy, a lot of these areas are still referred to today, like Tuscany, Parma, Sardinia. So these areas are city-states. Again, France comes down here in the early 1800s under Napoleon's rule, and they conquer all of Italy. And then after Napoleon is kicked out and his rule is over, they say, hey, we got to do something to stop this in the future. So what do? We unite. What makes an Italian an Italian? They speak Italian. And this is what we got. So you'll see we have a lot of city-states here, and then we're one unified country here. Lastly, on the bad side of things, the Ottoman Empire, which we've been talking about for a long time in this class now, and we will talk about it in unit number 6 as well. But I just want to point out that Ottoman Empire is going to be losing territory during this time. A lot of their European territory outside of right here where Constantinople is located is going to start breaking away into Bulgaria and Greece and this northern part of Egypt, Libya. These areas are going to be lost to this nationalist movement. So it's really going to bring Germany and Italy up to unify, and it's going to lead to the decline of the Ottoman Empire going down. Last but not least, looking ahead here, some future stuff. This idea of nationalism is going to run throughout the rest of our course. It is everywhere. You just can't avoid it, of this idea of pride and independence and nationalism. So it's everywhere from the 20th and 21st century. It is in countries right now, today. It is as we go through trends in the world right now, there is this ultra-nationalism that is increasing around the world as we speak. And it's going to be a major theme through periods 5 through 6. We're going to see it from 1900 to present. I want you just to keep in the back of your mind that it starts here in the 1800s, but it's really going to continue on through the 1900s. So that's nationalism short. We got about 10 minutes. It's not horrible. Any questions, as always, you write that down. You let me know.